Hi students, as we move on to the next unit, here you have two pictures. Whom do you think these persons are? They are none other than the same person, a scientific genius named Albert Einstein. You may have heard a lot about this scientific genius. Before we move into the lesson, you must understand the word what genius means. Genius means a person who is exceptionally intelligent. When the IQ level is high in one person, he becomes or she becomes extraordinary person, so called genius. You may know few people like Sir C.V. Raman, Galileo or Newton. So among those genius, Albert Einstein is one. So in this chapter, we are going to learn the biography and the achievement of Albert Einstein. So the theme of this lesson is how human perception, how human perceives about each other's intelligence or each other's intellectual capacities, whether we accept others' ideas or we reject. Some of us may have better ideas than others. Do we accept them? Do we welcome them? Or we just reject? A human being has his or her own likeness and dislikes. We fail to accept a person who has different ideas and observations of concepts. So, from the life of Einstein, we can learn that. Albert Einstein was born on 14 March 1879 in the German city of Ulm. His mother thought he was a freak. Freak means one who was abnormal. He was an abnormal child, not a normal child, because his head was bit large comparatively with other children. He didn't speak until the age of 2.5. Some say 3 or 4, which is evidently not correct. But he was not able to speak when he was around 3 years old. When he finally started speaking, he spoke everything twice. He uttered everything twice. He loved mechanical toys and he preferred to be all by himself, all alone. Once the headmaster at a school where Einstein studied in said to his father, Einstein's father, that no matter what career Einstein would choose, he would never be successful. He was a bit discouraged there. He played the violin and later became a gifted violinist. He went to a high school in Munich and left the school at the age of 15 because he felt depressed there. He did not like the school and the administration and the treatment. So his parents had moved to Milan and left Einstein in Munich with relatives. However, he got to continue his education in a city better or much more liberal than Munich. He was also interested in physics and was highly gifted in maths. He studied at a university in Zurich. What about his personal life and works? Albert fell in love with Meleva Marik, whom he thought was a clever being, as he is. So at the age of 21, he was a university graduate but unemployed. He worked as a teaching assistant and gave private lessons. As a private tutor, he worked very early. He secured a job in 1902 as a technical expert in Bern. In 1905, one of the famous papers was Einstein's special theory of relativity, according to which time and distance are not absolute. You may have studied this in physics. E is equal to mc squared. So he derived the world's most famous formula that described the relationship between mass and energy. So Albert Einstein wanted to marry Mileva after finishing his studies, but his mother did not approve it because she thought Mileva was too old for him and was bookish. Means, like Albert Einstein, she was also very intelligent. They finally got married in January 1903 and has two sons. They had two sons. Unfortunately, they divorced in the year 1919, and then Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. So this was his personal life. What about his achievement, his work? In 1915, he had published his General Theory of Relativity. An eclipse of the sun in 1919 proved that it was accurate. So, this is the summary of the lesson, A Truly Beautiful Mind. So, truly beautiful mind. When you look at this phrase, a truly beautiful mind, whom would you call or whom would you consider he or she has a beautiful mind? Again, it comes back to the word genius. Genius means, or whom do you call genius? A person who has high intellectual capacity. The level of IQ of the person is high. IQ in the sense intelligent quest. There are so many personalities, you can name them. Those who have more intelligent or more IQ comparing with the normal people. They are called genius. They are extraordinary people. So who do you think of when you hear the word genius? You can name so many people. And what is a genius? In your opinion, whom do you consider he or she is a genius? What qualities do you think a genius has? It is only about their IQ or their intelligence or some other. We shall from this lesson read about a young German civil servant. Civil servant is what? Civil government employee who took the world by storm about 100 years ago. In the summer of 1905, the 26-year-old published in quick succession 4 groundbreaking papers. One about light, the motion of particles, the electrodynamics of moving bodies, and energy. So his work took up only a few pages in scientific journals, but changed forever our understanding of space, time, and the entire cosmos, and transformed the name Einstein into a synonym for genius. Einstein, the word Einstein stands for genius. So 50 years after his death, even now people talk about Einstein and his intelligence. It is said that Einstein's brain is 15% larger than normal person. So Albert Einstein was born on 14 March 1879 in the German city of Ulm without any indication that he was destined for greatness. There was no indication earlier that he would become a great person, or he would become a genius in scientific field, in science. On the contrary, his mother thought Albert was a freak. Einstein was a freak. Freak means an abnormal child. To her, his head seemed much too large. His head was too large, and therefore she thought he was going to be an abnormal child. At the age of 2.5, Einstein still wasn't talking. He was not talking anything. When he finally did learn to speak, he uttered everything twice. So Einstein did not know what to do with other children, and his playmates called him Brother Boring. Since Einstein did not play with his playmates, they all called him Brother Boring. So the youngster played by himself. So Einstein played by himself much of the time. So most all the time he played by himself. He loved to be by himself. That's what I said earlier. So he especially loved mechanical toys. Looking at his newborn sister Maza, he is said to have said, someone said, this is what he said. Einstein said, "Fine, but where are her wheels?" So Einstein thought his sister was a mechanical toy, and therefore he asked, "Where are her wheels?" Once a headmaster told his father that what Einstein chose as a profession wouldn't matter. Whatever he chooses as a profession, that is not the matter, because he'll never make a success at anything. Einstein began learning to play the violin at the age of 6 because his mother wanted him to. His mother wanted him to play violin, so he started learning. He later became a gifted amateur violinist. Amateur in the sense doing something for personal enjoyment rather than a professional. It means he learned to play violin and maintained this skill throughout his life. So he just maintained playing violin throughout his life. But Albert Einstein was not a bad student, pupil in the sense student. He went to a high school in Munich where Einstein's family had moved when he was 15 months old and scored good marks in almost every subject. Einstein hated the school's regimentation, the rules and regulations, and often clashed with his teachers. He had a lot of arguments with his teachers. At the age of 15, Einstein felt so stifled. Stifled means what? Suppressed. So depressed. That he had left the school for good. So he didn't like the rules at the school, and therefore he left it. The previous year, Albert's parents had moved to Milan and left their son with relatives. After prolonged discussion, Einstein got his wish to continue his education in German speaking Switzerland, in a city which was more liberal than Munich, which was bit free, more free than Munich. So he stayed there and he did his studies. So until here, if you have any doubt from the summary of the lesson or from this video, you can ask me. Thank you.